Okay, so time to add a little bit of color to our cupcakes. The first thing you're gonna do is just color your cupcake like you would a coloring book. So pick out your colors, gently, lightly, fill in all your spaces. Fill in everything around your details, don't just color over your details. I'll show you what that looks like after I color it. Okay, so I have it colored. Now most people will tell me they're done at this point, but I will say, no way, Jose. You have to do some other steps. So this looks just like a coloring book, but when we looked at Wayne Thiebaud's artwork, we noticed one thing he did was overlap his colors. So next, what I'm gonna do is pick out some colors that I think will look pretty on top of some of the other color that I already have. For instance, I could put purple on top of this blue. Now, when I did my blue and all the other colors that you see here, I pressed lightly. I'm gonna continue to press light as I overlap my colors. And then every once in a while I might press a little bit harder if I feel like it's not showing up the way that I want it to. You're gonna see, take a good look at this. You're gonna see my cupcake next look a lot brighter and vibrant, which is why we do this. Okay, so now my cupcake is starting to stand out a lot better than it was before. And partly that's because of the overlapping I did with other colors. Now I have to turn on my artist brain and think about shades and where I would find those on my cupcake. So to do this, you really have to imagine with your artist brain where your light is coming from. So if my light is coming from this direction, my shadows are gonna be more on this side. I also have to think about where the curves of my object are. So anything that curves away from the light is gonna have a shadow in it. So for instance, I might wanna put shadows here where the cupcake liner curves in, because that area is not gonna, light is not gonna reach that area, and therefore I would have a shadow. So I'll show you how to add your shadows so that you can kind of see that process, because it is a little bit tricky. Notice that I'm gonna start with what looks like just a line, but then I need to create those gradations that we talked about. So a fade from light to dark. To do that fade, I press less and less with the crayon. I'm putting a shadow here because I feel like if the icing kind of goes down, that place wouldn't reach, or that area wouldn't have as much light reaching it. So I'm going to continue to kind of start adding in more shadows, and you'll see what that looks like when it's done. All right, so you can see I've added my shadows, and now it's time for my final step, which is to add the opposite of a shadow, a highlight. So now I need to think about where the light is going to hit it most, rather than the places where the light doesn't reach it. So with my white, I'm gonna add in those bright spots. Most of the time, my highlights will be on the opposite side of my shadows, or in the spots that come forward or curve out. And just like with my black, I don't want to leave those highlights just lines. I want to create gradations with those highlights, kind of fade them out. All right, so when you're finished, you're going to have a final product that looks something like this. It's going to look really three-dimensional, like it's popping out of your paper.